Victor finds out the truth. Sienna confesses Noah's secret. The Young and the Restless spoilers delivers one of the most emotionally explosive and power-shifting moments Genoa City has seen in years as Victor Newman finally uncovers the truth that has been festering beneath layers of lies, fear, and misplaced loyalty. At the center of it all stands Sienna, a woman pushed to her breaking point, and Noah Newman, whose carefully guarded secret threatens to shatter not only his future but the fragile peace within the Newman family itself. When Sienna finally confesses, the fallout is instant, devastating, and irreversible, setting off a chain reaction that puts Victor back into his most dangerous role yet: protector, strategist, and judge. The storyline begins quietly, with subtle signs that Sienna is unraveling. She's distracted, jumpy, and visibly weighed down by guilt. Every conversation feels like a test she's about to fail, especially when Victor starts paying attention. Victor Newman doesn't miss patterns, and lately, Sienna has become one. Her nervous glances, her sudden defensiveness when Noah's name is mentioned, and her refusal to meet Victor's eyes all trigger his instincts. Victor has built empires on less suspicion, and this time, the stakes are deeply personal. Noah has already walked a painful road away from Genoa City and back again, trying to redefine himself outside the shadow of the Newman name. Victor wants to believe his grandson has finally found stability, but something doesn't add up, and Victor knows it. Behind closed doors, Victor quietly orders his own investigation, not through corporate channels, but through people he trusts to tell him the ugly truth. Meanwhile, Sienna is spiraling. She never intended for things to go this far. What began as loyalty to Noah has mutated into a suffocating silence that's eating her alive. The secret she's holding isn't just damaging, it's dangerous. It involves choices Noah made during his time away from Genoa City, choices that could implicate him in something far darker than anyone realizes. Sienna knows that if the truth comes out, Noah could lose everything his family has just begun to rebuild with him. She also knows Victor is closing in. The pressure becomes unbearable when Victor confronts Sienna directly, not with accusations, but with quiet authority. He tells her he knows she's hiding something and that lies have a way of destroying everyone they touch. Victor's words aren't shouted, they're measured, controlled, and far more terrifying because of it. He gives Sienna a choice: tell him the truth now, or let him uncover it himself, which will be far worse for Noah. That ultimatum breaks her. In a raw, emotional confession, Sienna finally tells Victor everything. Noah's secret isn't just a mistake, it's a buried chapter of his life involving a deal gone wrong, a betrayal that left someone hurt, and a cover-up that required silence from everyone involved. Sienna admits that Noah believed keeping the secret was the only way to protect his family, but the weight of it has haunted him ever since. As she speaks, Victor's face hardens, not with rage, but with something colder: calculation. The truth hits him like a slow-burning fire. This isn't just about Noah, it's about threats to the Newman legacy. Victor doesn't interrupt Sienna. He lets her talk until there's nothing left to hide, then dismisses her with a warning that her role in this isn't over. Once alone, Victor processes what he's learned, and viewers see the shift. This is the Victor Newman who doesn't forgive easily, but who will go to war for his blood. His immediate concern isn't punishment, it's containment. Who else knows? Who could expose Noah? And how close is this secret to becoming public? Victor moves swiftly, pulling strings behind the scenes, shutting down potential leaks, and preparing contingency plans that could make the difference between scandal and survival. When Victor finally confronts Noah, the scene is emotionally charged and devastating. Noah realizes instantly that Sienna has talked, and the look on his face confirms everything Victor needs to know. There's no yelling, no dramatic outburst. Instead, Victor delivers a crushing monologue about trust, responsibility, and the cost of secrets. He tells Noah that the truth always surfaces and that the longer it's buried, the more destruction it causes. Noah, overwhelmed with shame, admits he was wrong to hide it and wrong to put Sienna in that position. He confesses that fear drove every decision he made: fear of disappointing Victor, fear of losing his family's respect, and fear of becoming the kind of man he swore he'd never be. The conversation forces Noah to confront who he really is and who he wants to be. Victor's response is complex and layered. He's furious, disappointed, and deeply concerned, but he doesn't abandon Noah. Instead, he lays out a brutal path forward. There will be consequences. Some bridges may already be burned. But Victor makes it clear that as long as Noah is willing to take responsibility and stop running, Victor will fight for him. This conditional loyalty is classic Victor Newman, and it sends a powerful message: family is protected, but not blindly. Sienna's confession also places her in serious danger socially and emotionally. Word begins to spread that she was involved, even if the details remain murky. Some see her as a betrayer, others as a victim of Noah's choices. Her relationship with Noah is strained to the breaking point as both grapple with guilt and resentment. Sienna wonders if telling the truth saved Noah or doomed him, and that uncertainty eats at her. At the same time, outside forces begin circling. Someone else knows more than they should, and Victor realizes that even with all his power, he may be racing against time. The fallout ripples through Genoa City, affecting relationships far beyond the Newman family. Trust becomes a rare commodity, and alliances are quietly reassessed. Characters who once believed Noah had changed begin to question whether his past defines his future. Victor, meanwhile, becomes more ruthless than ever, determined to control the narrative before it controls them. This storyline cements Victor's role as both villain and savior, a man willing to make morally gray decisions to protect his own. It also pushes Noah into his most defining arc yet, forcing him to step out of the shadow of secrets and face the consequences head-on. Sienna's confession marks a turning point, not just for these characters, but for the entire canvas of the young and the restless. The truth is out, but the damage is far from over. As Victor tightens his grip and Noah struggles to rebuild what's been broken, one thing becomes clear: secrets may start in silence, but in Genoa City, they always end in chaos. What happened when a director tried to cut Victor's screen time? Eric Braeden's epic response is the kind of behind-the-scenes revelation that perfectly captures why both Victor Newman and the man who brings him to life, Eric Braeden, are absolute institutions in daytime television. This big news story isn't just about a creative disagreement on the set of The Young and the Restless, it's about power, legacy, respect, and a legendary actor who knows exactly what he brings to the table and refuses to let it be diminished. When whispers began circulating that a director wanted to reduce Victor Newman's screen time during a crucial story arc, no one expected the reaction that followed. What unfolded became one of the most talked about moments among cast, crew, and longtime fans, and it solidified Eric Braeden's reputation as both a fierce advocate for his character and a guardian of the show's soul. The situation reportedly began during a transitional period in the show's storytelling, when new creative voices were brought in to refresh pacing and shift focus toward younger characters. On paper, the idea made sense. Daytime soaps constantly evolve, and The Young and the Restless has always balanced generations. However, the execution raised eyebrows when early drafts of upcoming scripts noticeably minimized Victor Newman's presence, pushing him to the sidelines during a storyline that directly involved Newman Enterprises and family power struggles. For Eric Braeden, this wasn't just a matter of ego or airtime. Victor Newman is the backbone of the show's history, a character whose presence gives weight to every boardroom confrontation and family crisis. Cutting his screen time during such a pivotal arc felt, to Braeden, like a misunderstanding of what makes the show work. At first, Eric approached the situation professionally and privately. He requested meetings, asked thoughtful questions, and sought to understand the creative rationale behind the decision. What he heard only deepened his concern. The plan seemed driven by the idea that Victor's story had already been told, that his role could now function more as background influence rather than active force. For an actor who has spent decades evolving Victor from a ruthless tycoon into a layered patriarch shaped by love, regret, and moral ambiguity, that assessment was unacceptable. Eric Braeden is known on set not just as a performer, but as a thinker, someone deeply invested in narrative continuity and character truth. When it became clear that quiet conversations weren't changing minds, he did what Victor Newman himself would do: he pushed back, boldly and unapologetically. According to insiders, Braden delivered an impassioned response that left no doubt about his position. He reminded the creative team that Victor Newman isn't just another character who can fade in and out of relevance depending on trends. Victor is the gravitational center of the show, the figure around whom rivalries, romances, and moral conflicts orbit. Remove or weaken that center, and the entire structure risks collapse. What made Eric Braden's response epic wasn't volume or anger, but clarity. He articulated how Victor's presence elevates other characters, giving younger actors stronger material and higher stakes. He argued that conflict means more when Victor is in the room, that victories feel earned and losses feel devastating because they're measured against Victor Newman. His words reportedly reframed the discussion from screen time to storytelling value. Braden also drew on history, pointing out that some of the show's most iconic moments came during periods when Victor was front and center, shaping destinies with a single look or line of dialogue. He emphasized that fans don't just watch for plot twists, they watch for Victor's reactions to those twists. His moral compass, even when warped, gives viewers something to push against or rally behind. Without that, stories risk feeling lighter, less grounded, and forgettable. The turning point came when Eric challenged the assumption that legacy characters must step aside to make room for the future. Instead, he argued that the future thrives when it collides with legacy. Victor Newman mentoring, opposing, or clashing with the next generation creates organic drama that no manufactured storyline can replace. That perspective reportedly resonated deeply with both writers and producers. What followed was a creative pivot. Scripts were reworked, Victor's role restored and even expanded in key episodes. Rather than being sidelined, Victor became the catalyst for the very storylines intended to highlight newer characters. The result was a dynamic interplay between generations, exactly the balance The Young and the Restless has mastered at its best. Cast members later spoke about the shift in energy on set, noting how Victor's restored presence raised the intensity of scenes and sharpened performances across the board. Eric Braden's epic response didn't just protect his own role, it protected the integrity of the show. It sent a clear message that respect for history and character depth isn't optional in long-running storytelling. Fans, though unaware of the behind-the-scenes battle at the time, felt the difference on screen. Episodes regained a sense of gravitas, and Victor's scenes once again became must-watch moments. The story also reinforced why Eric Braden remains one of daytime's most respected figures. His willingness to speak up wasn't about control, but about stewardship. He sees himself as a caretaker of Victor Newman, responsible not only to writers and producers, but to viewers who have invested decades in the character. In an industry where actors are often expected to quietly accept creative decisions, Braden's stance was both rare and necessary. In the end, the director's attempt to cut Victor's screen time became a footnote, overshadowed by the outcome it produced. Victor Newman emerged stronger, more central, and more relevant than ever. Eric Braden's response became a quiet legend, passed around in interviews and fan circles as a reminder that some characters, and some actors, are simply too important to sideline. The moment reaffirmed a truth that The Young and the Restless continues to prove: as long as Victor Newman is standing at the center of Genoa City, the drama will always matter, and the legacy will always endure.